point, can you get, to me, the bigger question is, can you get Calvin Ridley for a second or even a third round pick? And then I start to perk up and say, yeah, I think about that. Obviously, you got to do a lot of due diligence, but this team has had a history of dealing with mental health issues.
Mac guys, here on Birds 365. Thanks for punching us up on the JAKIB YouTube channel. And oh, by the way, speaking of punching, while you're at it, punch that like button. What do we have to
we
do
gotta pick that up. I haven't done that the last couple days. That's my bad. You gotta like, share, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe. There, I got 2 in.
One of our loyal streamers on the stream said, yeah, remember to punch that like button when you first start. Thank you very much. Please do so. We got to improve our algorithm, or so I'm told. I'm sitting here talking to Johnny Mac about football. That's all I know.
Our director of analytics, Xander Krause, says like, share, subscribe.
Yeah, so certainly Xander's better than yours truly here. I'll try and stick to the football with you, Johnny Mac, and learn from you. Want to talk about a position we talked about with Tommy when he was on with us, and that's the wide receiver position. I don't know that I'm buying with what he was selling. It was just speculating as to the direction of the Eagles. I think the Eagles...
The run first, I like that thought process. It was interesting. But I don't think the Eagles want to be that.
That's where I was going. Thank you very much for getting there for me. They did it out of necessity last year. Yeah. It wasn't like, ooh, the Eagles have they're above the curve on everyone else in the National Football League. No, the league is not turning back to a ground and pound league. It is still going to be a pass heavy, if not pass dominant league. And you correctly pointed out the owner has always been a believer in the more we throw, the better we move the football. I don't think they want to just come back and do it the same way they did it, even though it was the better way that they did it last year. So I think that just line of logic is off base. Oh, I think the Eagles still very heavily emphasize the passing game and want to emphasize the passing game. And that's one of the reasons why I think they are considering taking a wide receiver in the first round again this year, unless they don't need to, which means they will have gotten a much improved wide receiver somewhere else. And that surely could be free agency. Don't hold your breath for Devonta Adams. But there is the possibility of a trade. And you and I just talked about this briefly yesterday, that DK Metcalf's name came out in the mix over the last week or so. I think it's highly unlikely, if Pete Carroll is to be believed, that they have no intention of trading Russell Wilson. They're not going to keep Russell Wilson and then turn around and trade DK Metcalf. But he is on the 4th year of his rookie deal. He was not a first-rounder, second-round pick, so he doesn't have that 5th-year option. So they basically need to make a decision on him this season. But if they do make him available, if you're the Eagles, you got to have interest in him, even if they, like 31 other teams in the NFL, were questioned, well, why didn't you take DK Metcalf? Well, because he had an injury at that time, and they just didn't think he was going to be able to get over and become the player that he has. Now you evaluate him in that way, what he's achieved in the league, which is plenty. Metcalf is a very interesting name that if you wanted to, you could use one of those first-round draft picks and get a guy like that. I don't think that's an outrageous cost. It's probably a pretty likely cost. The other name that has come up a lot about the Eagles potentially trading for is Calvin Ridley, who became the man in Atlanta this year when Julio Jones moved on. Had a kind of up and down season. He's been a great number 2 guy this year. When he became the number 1, not as good as expected. And then at the end of the season, he had mental health issues, which knocked him out of the lineup. If he came here, you would assume that Devonta Smith could still be the number 1 guy. Hey, may the best man win. Whoever gets open is going to get the football more. If the cost is a number 1 pick for either of those 2 guys, Calvin Ridley already signed, but a big cap number, DK Metcalf, know full well you're going to have to sign him to a big deal. Which of those two potential wide receiver trade acquisitions would interest you more, Johnny Mac?
Well, if it's a first round pick, say 19, definitely Metcalf. I mean, he's worthy of a first round pick. I don't think you would have to give up a first round pick for Calvin Ridley, and I could be wrong, but because of some of the issues that you mentioned last year, I think he only ended up playing in 5 games. And I just think, you look at it from that standpoint. Can you get, to me, the bigger question is, can you get Calvin Ridley for a second or even a third round pick? And then I start to perk up and say, yeah, I think about that. Obviously, you got to do a lot of due diligence, but this team has had a history of dealing with mental health issues with
True.
Brandon Brooks and Lane Johnson. They have a better feel maybe than some teams, but you'd have to be really confident of where he is and if he wants to play and if he wants to be here and if he wants to come back and he wants to fight through it and do the things you need to do. All those are the bigger questions with Calvin Ridley. But no way, I don't even start that conversation with a first round pick because of all that. With Metcalf, I mean, yeah, guy's proven at this point, he's proven those medical red flags have not been an issue to this point. Now, his problem is he's up for an extension and he's going to get a boatload of money. Correct. So you have to factor into that. I think he's worth it for that position. But going full circle to what Tommy said, look, I'm with you. I know for a fact. I mean, Nick Sirianni wants, to run 11 personnel. That's, he wants to, and you got to get receivers to do that. Where I think Tommy's point is interesting is, all right, that might be the ultimate goal when they get a different quarterback. But with this quarterback, and you said they did it out of necessity, and you're right, changing the offense, Jody, well, they're going to have to do it again. So, in the short term, but I don't think you can think that way when it comes to adding talent. If you just got to add the talent and let the chips fall where they may. You add good players when you can and get them in here. And they need more talent at the receiver position. So they should listen to everything on the trade market, obviously in free agency, and even the draft, which I think is the least likely scenario because of the history. But they're going to bring in a receiver through some avenue. So all these names should be on the table. But when it comes to a first-round pick, yeah, I'm not even thinking about that for Calvin Ridley. Not talent-wise, other reasons.
Understood. Let's talk about that first-round wide receiver pick, which, yeah, there was a buzz about it yesterday and the fact that they talked to Treylon Burks as quickly as they did. I'm not discounting the possibility as much as some other people. No way, Howie will do it again. Oh, yeah, he could. He did say yesterday we need to put pieces around Jalen Hurts. And, yes, I understand defense helps the offense, but what helps the offense more? The offense. The offense helps itself more than the defense helps the offense. So under the premonition that they will at least consider taking a wide receiver with one of those picks, and we'll even say the final of those 3 picks, let's say 15, 16 are both used for defense if the Eagles are keeping all 3, and 19 is, well, let's see what's on the board, and wide receiver is at least being considered. How do you rate that? And I give you every opening to change your opinion between now and April. We have these early March opinions that can change greatly between now and April when the draft rolls around. But how would you rank the wide receivers? We're going to go in the first round, say, just for argument's sake, conversation's sake today. A couple guys are off the board by the time you get to 19, maybe even many as 3. So let me ask you to go 5 deep. How would you rate the wide receivers available in this draft?
I would rate Garrett Wilson number 1. And I don't think he's going to be there, so I don't think you have to worry about that if you're an Eagles fan. Kind of CD Lambish, I would say, as a player, which is pretty good. I would go Burks number 2, as you mentioned, although, I kind of said on yesterday's show, a lot of people are saying, well, you could use him like Deebo Samuel, and he's got that similar type sentiment. And I said, you know what? All these coaching staffs say this kind of crap, and they don't do it. So they're just going to line him up outside. So, and that, and by the way, I still think he's going to be a good player, but you got to have the want of Kyle Shanahan to be able to do different things. And I don't see a lot of coaches who have that kind of discipline or inventiveness to do that type of thing. Still think he's a really good player. I don't think he'll be there at 15, 16. And remember, if the Eagles take a wide receiver and they stay put and all these hurdles, it'd probably be at 19. So I don't think he'd be there at 19. Then I would put London third. I don't like him for the Eagles. I just because of and I say you can't be scared, but I'm scared. Just a huge guy. He's more about, sort of the basketball player and the huge body and doesn't create a lot of separation. And that scares me with the Eagles because for a couple reasons. One, they haven't shown the ability to throw the back shoulders and that kind of stuff and use that type of receiver. Two, I'm not sure Jalen Hurts has the confidence. We talk about decision-making, the ball not being out on time. When you have guys like that, you got to throw the football and you got to trust them that they're going to come down with it. So I don't think he's necessarily a fit for this team, but I think he's the third. The guy I would want if I'm the Eagles is Jameson Williams, who would be probably my second if he didn't tear his ACL. And I think he can get some value there because I think he's going to drop a little bit, probably about 10 spots, and that probably goes from 10 to 20 in that range. He would be my 4. And then the other kid from Ohio State, I'm forgetting his name.
Chris Olave.
Chris Olave. He'd be my number 5. And then I'll go 6 because there's Dotson from Penn State. He would be my 6th. But those would be my top receivers.
Yeah, I'd probably have Dotson at 6 too, which means we'd agree at the top and we agree at the bottom because we have the same exact 5 players, which is a good thing. I would have Wilson 1. You had Wilson 2. I would have London 2.
No, I had Wilson 1.
Right. Did I say 2?
Too.
Yeah, we both had Wilson 1. I got London higher ranked than you do. I don't have the fears that the Eagles wouldn't be able to get him the football. And I think he's actually capable of getting separation more than the guy who you like better than me, Burks, who you've got at number 2. I have him no better than number 5. I like Olave better than you do because I would put him at 3. Is Williams a more talented player? Yes, but comes with a question mark because he tore the ACL. If we had done this in November before he got hurt, I would have had Williams ranked ahead of Olave. Now I would just flip-flop those 2, and I would have Burks as number 5. I want to see Deebo Samuel out of Burks before I look at him as the next Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel is a unicorn.
Yeah, exactly. He's not.
I don't believe you're going to be able to get that.
Who was Deebo Samuel before Deebo Samuel, but nobody could figure it out is Cordero Patterson. Nobody could use him. Nobody could figure it out. Nobody had the inventiveness. So if you have that type of talent and you don't use it, who cares? And I don't think there's, and I said yesterday, we were talking about this. I can't come up with another coach that would use Deebo Samuel like Deebo Samuel is used. So they're all talking about it. But the reason he's Deebo Samuel is because of where he is. And fit means something. And it means a lot when you have a unique player. And I talked about it defensively as well with Micah Parsons. And that came about not only because he's unique, but because of necessity, because of injury and what happened with Dallas. The Eagles wouldn't use Micah Parsons like that. So the people say, well, they could have had Micah Parsons. Well, who cares? They're going to use him as a lineman. And that's why I say Kyle Hamilton, and because I love Kyle Hamilton. I think he's the best player in this draft. But I don't know if anybody's going to use him to make him the best player in this draft because I think he can play anywhere.
Right. So here's the question, Johnny Mac, and we got to get a break because Groats is going to join us. Do you have faith that Jonathan Gannon, maybe not 100%, maybe 90, And maybe other teams only get 65 or 60% out of what Kyle Hamilton, you envision him potentially bringing to the table. Do you have faith that Jonathan Gannon is a defensive coordinator who can use him enough, position him enough, get the most out of him that would merit trading up to getting a guy like that in the first round? Because you and I both love the kid's talent, just flat out love his talent, but you're banking on it being the right buttons pushed to be able to get that talent out of him. Is Jonathan Gannon that guy?
No, but I think he's more of that guy than most people. And you know, I mentioned this. He constantly talks about Harrison Smith. So if he uses him like Minnesota used Harrison Smith especially when Harrison Smith was younger, that's going to be better than 80% of the people with Kyle Hamilton. And I would take that, because that would be, anybody who watched Harrison Smith in the prime of his career, that's pretty stinking good. So if I can get that, and I think you can get that at the bare minimum, that's still a top 5 player in the draft. So I would be head over heels if that could come to fruition.
And I think that is the one guy, only one, because we've gone through this exercise with a couple different guests, couple different guys, and we'll do it all the way up to the draft. The Eagles have 4 possibilities here. Stay put, take all 3 guys at the positions they have. Trade down, add an extra draft pick somewhere later in the first round. Trade out, try and get themselves a 2022 pick where they might want to be players in the draft quarterback lottery again next year, and or trade up. I think trade up is the least likely one, because at least in my evaluation, there's one guy worth trading up for, and that's Hamilton. If he drops and comes down to 7, those 2 first-round picks would probably get you in a position to be able to get him. That's it. Even for a guy like Thibodeau, you can sit where you're at and get a comparable pass rusher. The drop-off from Hamilton to the next, and I'll go beyond safety. I'll just go any defensive back is great enough that I would say, damn it, I'll give up a first-round pick to be able to go get that kid. So both John and I are on the Hamilton bandwagon, to say the least. All right, Johnny Mac, your Mac on Mac Birds 365, guys. We are scheduled to be joined by Bob Groats of the Delco Times. Hopefully he joins us next here on Birds 360.